Well, it's a new day for news coverage of Israel. News outlets are now walking back stories of Israeli troops killing dozens of civilians at aid distribution centers in Gaza. The Washington Post admitted that its story fell short of, quote, standards of fairness.
Well, meanwhile, Israeli forces say the new food distribution centers are weakening the grip of Hamas on Gazans. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
On Tuesday, IDF spokesman Brigadier General Effie Defrin said Hamas is steadily losing control over Gaza and its people. Defrin also released a map showing how the IDF is controlling more ground in Gaza.
We are delivering major setbacks to Hamas and pushing the terrorist organization closer to collapse. As a result of our military operations and the pressure we are applying, Hamas is losing its grip on the population in Gaza and its control over humanitarian aid.
The new distribution centers run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF, provide aid directly to Gazans, bypassing Hamas, who has systematically stolen, hoarded, and sold international aid throughout the war.
This initiative is proving effective. Gazan residents are coming to the distribution centers to receive the aid. The civilian population of Gaza understands that Hamas is not taking care of them. On the contrary, Hamas is actively trying to prevent them from receiving the aid.
Gaza is an active war zone. It is deadly, it is unpredictable, it's unstable. But amidst the chaos, people are hungry and someone has to feed them. And that's what the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aims to do.
On Tuesday, the GHF announced Reverend Johnny Moore is taking over as its new executive chairman.
Our technical experts have built a secure and scalable model that works inside an active war. It's not just remarkable, it's proof that humanitarian delivery doesn't need to be slow, it doesn't have to be dangerous, and it doesn't have to be politicized. And it can be done without trucks being seized, without mass diversions of aid, and with as much security as is possible in an active war zone.
Over the weekend, international media reported the IDF killed dozens of Gazans coming to receive aid at the GHF distribution centers. Those reports turned out to be false, leading one news outlet, the Washington Post, to retract its story. The White House criticized media coverage of Israel, specifically calling out the BBC.
Who had multiple headlines. They wrote, Israeli tank kills 26, Israeli tank kills 21, Israeli gunfire kills 31, Red Cross says 21 people were killed in an aid incident, and then, oh wait, they had to correct and take down their entire story, saying we reviewed the footage and couldn't find any evidence of anything. Oh. Okay, so we're going to look into reports before we confirm them from this podium.
For the first time in more than a year, terror groups in Syria fired 2 rockets into Israel. The IDF responded with a series of airstrikes saying, quote, the Syrian regime is responsible for what is happening in Syria and will continue to bear the consequences as long as hostile activity continues from its territory. On the Iranian front, Ayatollah Khamenei rejected the latest U.S. proposal and insisted Iran would not abandon its uranium enrichment program. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, we've pointed it out before, and I want to point it out again because it's very important. The world news seems to take the Gaza Ministry of Health propaganda and just run with it. And so these headlines were manufactured. Tanks kill civilians. It's designed to induce outrage in the viewer and the reader of these stories. And when it turns out to be absolutely false, that Israeli tanks did not do that, there weren't any casualties at the Gaza relief sites that Israel was controlling. When all of that turns out to be false, instead of apologizing and retracting, it says, well, it didn't fit our standards of fairness. Well, how about your standards of accuracy? And we've seen this from the Gaza Ministry of Health since the beginning of the war, that in the week following, they published a false story that Israeli warplanes bombed a hospital in Gaza. Well, that turned out to be completely false. It was a Hamas rocket that went off in the parking lot of that hospital that caused the damage. It didn't hit the hospital at all. So where is the standards for accuracy? And in that, are we aware that Hamas is actively engaged in a propaganda war against Israel? They're clearly losing the ground war, and what they want to do is completely change the narrative about Israel and reinforce that somehow or other it's an apartheid state and it's oppressing the Palestinians and it refuses to give them liberty or anything like that. Well, before October 7th, Gaza was a Palestinian state. It was governed by Hamas. Israeli troops were not there. They weren't firing anything at them. And in that, you have this wonderful Stanford survey of the residents of Gaza. And here's what that survey showed. This is the months prior to October 7th. That there was food insecurity, which is another way to say they were hungry. There wasn't enough food in Gaza. So when Hamas had complete control, complete access to everything, was the government of Gaza, their people were starving. And that is a problem that we all need to recognize. Hamas is the problem. It's not Israel. Don't flip the narrative. Don't buy into this false news, this fake news, and this propaganda coming out of a terror organization.